Welcome everybody, this is your boy Rome. Welcome back to the channel. You're watching the fourth official, that place and the only place you can get that Jamaican American views on football, the heavy bias towards Manchester United. International break is over, fam, which means regular football comes back. But we're not going to talk about Manchester United just yet this weekend. We're going to talk about the Reggae Boyz international break and just review the games that they played this past 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the games in isolation and we're going to talk about the games in their individuality. I'm going to show you guys today what a lot of people are not talking about and some of the things that needs to be said. But without any further ado, let me thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for liking the videos, commenting, interacting with me as much as possible, and sharing the platform as much as possible. Really do appreciate it. I encourage you to continue to do so. If you're brand new, make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe, and let's continue to build this platform and share our views, our honest opinions on football, and especially on the Reggae Boyz and Manchester United. And if you Chelsea are Man City fans, if there's any Arsenal fans you want to jump on, bring it. Long time in a laugh off of people. Anyway, let's get into it. We said earlier that we're going to talk about the 3 games in isolation, and then we're going to talk about all 3 of them together. So first, Mexico versus Jamaica. And what happened in that game is that we were very close, obviously, as you guys know, to getting a point in the Azteca. Something that one would think prior to the game was going to be very difficult, especially with the quality of players we're bringing down there. But the guys went down there and they put in a very good show, a disciplined show, especially for the first 60-70 minutes in the game. They were disciplined. The problem I have is, however, in that game, the coach made a substitution towards the end of the game to take off the only defensive midfielder you have, the only person giving you some sort of security down the back, and neglect to cover that position. Now my question is, and I will continue and I'll ask this question further down in the video, if he was good and able to play 85 minutes, why did he have to come off for 5 minutes? Your only defensive stability in the midfield, why did he have to come off after 5 minutes? Ask yourself that question, people. Ask yourself that question. The other thing I want to talk about in this game is the setup, or the Jamaica team setup. Jamaica team was placed number 1 to retain possession whenever we lost it. That is why we had Anthony Grant in the midfield, to get back that ball possession. Someone to be there, to be rugged. If you watch the last game against Costa Rica, whenever the midfielder, our striker, gets onto the ball with their back to our goal, there was Anthony Grant. The moment the pass was made to him and he realized where the pass was going, he was running onto the back of that Costa Rica player, making him uncomfortable. Make sure that he hears you running towards him, so he's going to make a pass. And we know when you're watching football, when you're playing football and you're watching football, if someone is hurried and rushed, there's a very likely chance that person make a mistake, make a bad pass, and then we can retain the ball. These are small things that Anthony Grant does in the game that helps us develop and helps us win back the ball. It was great in that aspect against Mexico, the little part of the game that I watched, and it was awesome against Costa Rica within that aspect. Now, I mentioned Anthony Grant because we're going to move into the next game, which was the Jamaica versus Panama game, the game that we had at home in our backyard. And it wasn't at the office, right? This was not at the office, this was in a closet, fam. And it's not that these players didn't show up. It's because, again, the structure and the setup of the team, which the coach is responsible for, was not there. Now, I'm going to touch on a few points now. We played an 11-man team without any sort of midfield security. We just decided to throw 11 man out there who knows and plays football on a regular basis and say, hey, I hope to come back with a win. Now, I said this earlier in a short video that I made on YouTube, and I'm going to say this again for all of you guys who missed it. Where was the structure? Where was the defense line in that midfield, in that team that Theodore Whitmore and the JFF set out to play against Panama in Jamaica? And then we're going to talk about Costa Rica game which went on, a most recent game. Jamaica played against a set of players with the average age of 40. I kid you not. And again, Jamaica set up with a defensive midfielder to protect the midfield, protect the back line, win back the ball. And Jamaica played a better game. Yes, we went down because of some sloppy defending. We went down 1-0. We managed to come back and get a goal. And we were looking good in spurts. We had wonderful opportunities, and so did Costa Rica. Both teams had opportunities to win the game. However, the question must be asked, why is it that we were able and willing to set up a defensive midfielder against Mexico away, Costa Rica away, but at home we decide to just show 11 man out there if we go play pick-up football? It's like a Sunday morning football. And now we're going to look at everything in the collective now, people. We're going to talk about the entirety of the international break surrounding Jamaica. Hopefully you can follow my hypothesis, but I'm going to show you guys the reason why I think this entire international break was a sham, it was a scam, and it was deliberately set up to put some people in the spotlight, to degrade some people, and to prove a point. Now, I continue to hold the contention that Whitmore and the JFF are not really fancying the overseas players coming into the team. I continue to contend that. I do know that they don't have any options but to bring them in, or to make preface that they're bringing them in, but I continue to contend that they don't want that. I continue to contend that the contracts that they offer these players have something that we're not talking, that we don't know about, that are promising people game time. I continue to contend that. I have no proof, but I continue to contend that. I want you to think about this and follow my logic. Whitmore, after the Panama game, went on TV as a press conference and said the players did not follow his instructions that they've been training with for the past week or so. I want you to understand that. He said they didn't follow the instructions, meaning the local players and the international, the UK players that they brought into play weren't following his instructions. That's why the midfield looked like that. What instructions did Whitmore, what training were they going on with Whitmore? Because remember, while these guys were here training, Whitmore was in Mexico with the team, with the rest of the team. If you want to give Whitmore the benefit of the doubt and say, yes, he sent back to Paul all the instructions that he needed from this team, how are you going to tactically set up an 8-man to play football? It wasn't possible. These guys weren't here working on tactics. These guys were here keeping up their fitness, playing maybe scrimmage football, you know, set pieces, that kind of stuff. They weren't working on tactics. They can't work on tactics with an 8-man team. Don't make sense. When 6 out of the 8 play forward, 1 play right back. All right, maybe not 6, but you know what I mean. So there's no way you can work on tactics. We have 2 defenders in there, right? You have 3 attackers. You have 2 midfielders. How are you going to work on tactics, fam? You cannot, especially in the midfield, because you have a Ravel Morrison and Daniel Johnson who plays the same goddamn position. And that is not defensive midfield. However, you come back to Jamaica, and instead of you picking a team that completely blends the international players that we brought over here and the local players that we already have, blend them together to bring forth a solid, unified, strong unit, what do? You send out all 8 of them, regardless of position, regardless of player type, regardless of what they can produce on the field. You send them all out there. You choose, I don't know, 3 other man, because, you know, you have to make sure, say you put 11 man out there. So you fling on Corey Burke, the goalkeeper have to play, of course. And then you bring on Taxi Lawrence, and they say, yeah, go on, do the thing. That is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. The JFF promised these man games. Theodore Whitmore didn't want these man to play. And then just send them out there. And then you come back on the press conference and blame the players when you didn't set them up for failure. I said this before and I'll say it again. You send these men out there to dig a grave, but you give them a fork and a spoon. A plastic fork and a spoon, for that matter. How is that going to work? Now, why do they do this, you might ask? And I think Rome upon a tyrant right now. Rome, why would I do something like that? Look at what he said at the end of the game. He did not take responsibility for losing that game so badly to Panama. He was blaming the players because he wanted the Jamaican public to blame the players. And what players were they going to blame? Was it going to be Taxi Lawrence? Was it going to be Andre Blake? Was it going to be Corey Burke? No. They were going to blame the 8 or so players that came over from the UK. And the first thing they're going to start saying, these guys are mercenaries. They're not coming to give everything for the badge. because they want to continue to keep the mediocre football that we've been playing for the past almost years. Because they want to continue to say that they only play in Jamaicans. Well, as if these men are not Jamaicans. They are. By blood they are. And you can't change that whether you like it or not. But the fact of the matter is, these guys did this because they wanted to blame the players. They wanted an avenue to say, listen, I am trying to prove a point here. There's no way we're going to make these guys come in our team. Whitmore do not want these players in his team. And that's the bottom line. And the faster you guys realize that, the better it will be for the Reggae boys. The only option we have right now is to get rid of Whitmore.
The only option we have right now is to get rid of Whitmore.
Point blank and period. Because if there is any other reason, the only other explanation why Whitmore set up the team like that, the way he set up the team against Panama for we lose 3-0, the only other reason is because he's incompetent and he don't know what he do, which is even fucking worse. So you guys tell me, because I don't know, is Whitmore honestly trying to set up these players, make them look like mercenaries? Is he? Is he? Is he? People, a full time now will wake up and start think about things. You see it with your eyes and you're not pre it. That's the problem, you're seeing it with your eyes but you're not pre it. About time now we start make the JFF and Theodore Whitmore piss our head and tell we say rain a fall. A lot of you guys just sit down and listen to what them say and just take it in like you're a puppet. Think about what these men are doing and saying, fam. How difficult would it be against Panama to play Anthony Grant in the midfield and take out Bobby Reed or take out Kemar Roof? Or don't play Corey Burke? How difficult would that be? How difficult would it be? It would not be that very difficult to give you some sort of security. Our biggest pitfall in that game was our midfield. We did not have one. But yet still we play good against Mexico. We play good against Costa Rica because we have a midfield, fam. We did not have one against Panama. Why? Because he neglected to bring the man on. And don't tell me this man is tired because he's been playing football all his life, fam. He play week in, week out in England, fam. He's not tired, blood. And if you're saying he's tired and he needs rest, why did you take him off at 80-something minutes against Mexico? And if he's tired, why did you take him off against Costa Rica? 85 minutes in. How is this man? You're telling me that he played 85 minutes and he's so freaking tired after 85 minutes he couldn't finish the game? You had to reach for someone who is 40 years old to come play in our midfield. You had to reach for somebody who look like he's 9 months with child. This man look like at 9 months now in the same period. Put on the jersey and it was so goddamn embarrassing to see him standing up at the half line, getting onto the field of play in a World Cup qualifier when all I can cack off and maybe the whole world I watch Jamaica, and you're bringing on a man when I play football on at all, and you have a big old gut in front of him. If you can't do what? This man didn't touch the ball once. But you brought him on to do what?
But then again, you're not going to carry your stepson all the way to Costa Rica and not play him.
So me, I don't make sense, blood. I would like you guys to make sense of it because I cannot. I've been trying and I simply cannot. People, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the 4th official. My name is Rome. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're brand new. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Wear a mask. Manaz.